Hey, yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. This is Smart TCG, and today I'm going to be going over my Stockholm Regionals tier list. Stockholm Regionals is one of the last major tournaments before the big rotation happens, so I want to go over exactly where I think the metagame is heading into this tournament. So, with that being said, enjoy the content, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and let's hop right into it here. So starting off, we're going to start off with some of the decks that have been seeing a lot of traction recently. We're going to start off with Dragapult here. You know, Dragapult is a deck that has been seeing a lot of success. Andrew Hedrick was most recently able to win the Vancouver Regional Championships with it, and I think this deck is great. You know, I love the Dusknoir package. I think it has pretty good matchups against the majority of the field. It kind of is the 50-50 or better versus, you know, every single like major matchup deck. It has a chance, right? And that's really, really important. So I think Dragapult at the moment right now is a top of tier A deck. You got a shot versus the majority decks in the format, and that's what's really, really important. Makes a good play. I definitely think that a lot of top players are going to be playing this deck just because you have a lot of outplay potential, which is really important. Next up here, we have the kind of just regular variant of Dragapult. No things like the Dusknoir. It plays the Blood Moon Ursaluna, plays Monkey Dory as well. Sometimes Defiance Vest or the Defiance Band. Straight pult with some tech cards. I like this deck. I think it's good. I don't think it's as good as Dragapult Dusknoir right now, just because some of your matchups, for example, like the Goldango matchup, doesn't feel as good. Your Gardevoir matchup, in my opinion, is a little bit sketchier. You have, I would say, also a not as good chance against decks like Archaludon and Miraidon. So I think the deck is still good, but I don't think it's necessarily as good as Dragapult Dusknoir. Still makes a good play, though. I think it's, very, very solid for sure. And it does have a little bit more of a surprise factor, which is, pretty important sometimes with decks. You can play lots of different, cool tech cards because you have more space because you don't have that Dusknoir line. So that's, one of the big benefits, I think, of this build. Next up here, we have Archaludon. I think Archaludon is a pretty average deck. Going to put it in tier C at the moment. It's like fine. It's not necessarily a bad deck, but in my opinion, isn't incredibly well positioned because decks like Goldango have been seeing a lot of success. Even Dragapult does relatively okay against it. There are plenty of Gardevoir lists that are also adding in double Bravery Charm, which makes the matchup significantly harder. So there are some problems with the deck right now, but I still think it isn't that bad. Next up here, we have Goldango. I think this deck is great. I think this is one of the best decks in the format. One of the biggest things this deck has going for it is it has a pretty decent Dragapult matchup. Your matchup is about 55-45 to 60-40 in my personal opinion, so you are favored, which is really, really nice. So yeah, I think Goldango is in a really good position. It's just a strong deck overall, and yeah, I think this deck is one of the best decks in the format. Next up here, we have Miraidon. I think Miraidon is still a great deck. I'm going to put it at the bottom of tier A. I think this deck is really good. We see some variants with things like the Defiance Band to help you out against the Goldango matchup. There's some, I guess, just like other variants as well that I think have some potential. I know that Azul has been playing a Prime Catcher variant. You also have things like Canceling Cologne, which is pretty good, to one-shot through things like Pikachu. So yeah, I think that build also has, quite a bit of potential. I personally am a fan of the Area Zero variant, just a little bit more, but I think that both of those variants are pretty good right now. And now that you have, the Defiance Band to make the matchup against Goldango closer, that's pretty good. Next up here, we got, let's do Turbo Roaring Moon. Now, this is a deck that has been seeing some talk recently. Lee Bowie was able to make top 4 at the Vancouver Regional Championships, and I think this deck's pretty good. I think that there's a couple different variants of this deck. There's the one that Lee played. There also is a Power Glass variant too that really looks to utilize that Radiant Greninja as quickly as possible. That has been seen some talk too. So I think this deck also has quite a bit of potential right now. It's pretty consistent as well. You're really fast. In my opinion, is one of the best turbo decks right now in the format, actually. It's actually pretty underrated. Next up, we got Cloth. Cloth seems like a solid B tier deck. One of the best things it has going for it is the Goldango matchup's favored. Your matchup against Miraidon is pretty decent, but your Dragapult matchup is pretty tough if they are able to get set up, along with your Gardevoir matchup as well. So you do have some problem matchups for sure, but I do think the deck is pretty good overall still. Next up here, we got Gardevoir. I think Gardevoir makes a really good play for this tournament. I think with double Bravery Charm, it has a lot of potential. Your matchup against Goldango gets much better. You're pretty close into Dragapult. I would say Dragapult's probably ever so slightly favored. It's still like really, really close. Your matchups against things like Miraidon can be won with cards like Klefki too. So Yeah, it's kind of a deck that 50-50s pretty much the majority of the format. You have some decent matchups though, but yeah, if you're able to get going, you have lots of different like I guess just like kind of like cool plays and stuff like that you can do. So I think the word is outplay potential. There's a lot of outplay potential, kind of like Dragapult too. So the deck is good. Next up here, we got Lugia Archeops. Lugia is in a pretty good position right now. I'm gonna put it at top of tier B. I think it's decent. You take a pretty decent Dragapult matchup. Your Gardevoir matchup's fine. Your Goldengo matchup's fine. But you do have a really tough Miraidon matchup, and you do run into inconsistency problems. But I think this deck is definitely a dark horse candidate. I think it's pretty well positioned, and I would not be surprised if the deck did really, really well moving forward. Next up here, we got Raging Bolt. I think Raging Bolt is a pretty solid deck right now. Not great, but just kind of solid, overall. You kind of have a chance versus, a lot of the top decks in the format, but you don't necessarily do exceptional versus, I would say, any of them. I would say the Miraidon matchup is, slightly favored, which is, a good thing. But if they start to add back in things like the Blood Moon or Saluna, that matchup can get a lot closer. So I don't think this deck is necessarily, terrible. I'll put it on top of tier C. It's, not a bad deck, but wouldn't be surprised to see it, see success, but also wouldn't be surprised if, it didn't really do that well. Next up here, we got Snorlax. Snorlax, in my opinion, is a tier C deck. It doesn't beat Dragapult and doesn't beat Gardevoir, in my personal opinion, if they know how to play the matchup. So I don't think the deck is amazing right now. Lost on Toolbox is like fine, but its Dragapult matchup isn't great. Its Gardevoir matchup isn't great. If Miraidon lists are playing Canceling Cologne, that matchup is also, not as good as it used to be. So it's not so great at the moment, but it's, not bad. Next up, we got Charizard. Charizard, in my opinion, kind of just falls into tier C. I don't know why there's two variants of Charizard here, but I think both variants of Charizard, if there is another one, I guess maybe with like Terapagos or something, I think those both kind of fall into tier C. And then Cerulege as well, in my opinion, falls into tier C. So anyways, just a little quick video, kind of wanted to go over my opinions on Stockholm Regionals and my kind of expectations for the metagame. So anyways, that's going to do it today for the video. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I appreciate all the support as always. Thank you so much as well for 10,000 subscribers. That was a big milestone. I'll be doing some type of giveaway coming up soon. But anyways, I'll be at Stockholm Regionals. If you see me, make sure to come up and say hi. I would love to meet some of you. And with that being said, this is Smart TCG. I'll speak with you guys again soon. Peace out.